Hello everyone. So in this video, we are going to do a couple lessons in Tinkercad, actually projects in Tinkercad with the Arduino circuit part of Tinkercad. So type in Tinkercad or get to tinkercad.com somehow in a search, or maybe clicking on a link that you have in your favorites. All we're going to do is go to Learn. Up here in the top right, go to Learn. Try to do this pretty quickly. If you need to, you can slow down the video by stopping it and backing up and watching a part over again. We're going to go to projects this time. So under circuits, make sure you change that to circuits, go to projects. So we're going to do these two in this video today. Blinking LED with digital output and multiple LEDs. So again, I'm going to go quick. The directions are all here. So when you open this up, Tinkercad shows you what you got to make. It's already here once. You've got to zoom out, scroll over, get this to the side, and make your own on the side. So when I see this in Tinkercad, I should see two versions of this build. And you can read through this and figure out what you have to do. So it talks a little bit about the resistor and how the resistor, and it shows you the animation of how you're going to connect it. It can go either way. Shows you all this stuff in these animations. You can click on it. It's nice and big. Draw the wire. You can see it's got too much current, so you got to add a resistor. You can add it to that side, or you can add this side. Doesn't really matter. It's like a traffic jam. It can be on either side. The traffic still can't get through any faster, whether the resistor is on this side or this side of the LED. But it's got to be in what they call series. It's got to be one before the other. So the LED before the resistor, or the resistor before the LED. That's a series circuit for this. Okay, so let's go ahead and build this. If you go to the next step, it tells you all what to do right here, the instructions. So it says, you know, drag in the resistor, drag in the LED, drag in the Arduino. So let's start with the Arduino. There it is, drag it in. Let's get an LED. It doesn't like selecting, so I just have to, I can remember that. LED, bring that in, put it right over top of 13. Now 13 is right here. See that right there? So I just kind of get it in line with that. And then the last thing we need is a resistor. There it is. Just bring that in. So again, you can connect it there. You can connect it there. It doesn't really matter. But what we want to try to do is make sure that it's 220 ohms. And why is it going to be 220 ohms? We talked about this in previous classes and previous lessons. This is coming out of here at roughly 5 volts. The LED can only handle about 20 milliamps. So if you remember Ohm's law and our Ohm's triangle, you've got V over I and R. So if we know that the voltage is 5, and we know that the current can only be 20 milliamps, we can solve for resistance. So if V is up here in the triangle, I'm visualizing the triangle right here, VIR, we're going to solve for R. So it's going to be V over I. So here I'll bring the calculator up. We know that V is 5 volts divided by the current that we want. No, so I did it backwards. So V over I, we know the current. We need to find out the resistance. Yeah. So I is the 20 milliamps that this can handle. We got to convert that into amps. So divided by 0.020 is our amperage. It tells you 250 ohms for our resistance. So when I click on this, and we can put in 250, it would be nice. Sometimes you can't get that, so this one calls for over here 220. So that's close enough. Again, it can go here or here. Draw your wires to ground for this side of the LED, and this side has to be positive. I like this to be red and this to be black, but it doesn't necessarily matter. The color is for humans only. The electricity goes through the wires no matter what color. So that's how we have to connect it up, and it tells you how to do that right here. It talks about how the resistor can go on either side. And so continue to the next step. So the next step is coding. So in the coding part, we're going to, it says try customizing the code, but you can follow the directions right here. It says open up the code, bring in the built LED, which is practically already there. Wait a second, bring it in again, wait another second. And you can see how this is high and this is low. And that's it. So let's go do that. So under code, see it's already here. Built in high, built in low, that's the same thing as 13. It says change up the wait times. Let's see what happens when we start the simulation. Make sure you've got Arduino 1. Oh, they put comments in. So if you read the directions, it does say to put comments in. So let's go ahead and do that. Comments are here. Again, comments are not for the computer. It's just basically for humans. And you just write in something that describes what's going to happen. What I do find is that people will change their program but won't change their comments, so be careful not to do that. So this one's going to be where we turn it on. For a second. And then I'm going to duplicate that. Oops, I don't want to duplicate everything. And throw that away. Put that there, and this is where we're going to turn it off for a second. So again, all the directions are here right here. And now let's watch our light. So it should come on, go off, come on, go off. 220. Oh, kilo. I didn't change my units. That's why it wasn't so bright. So change your units to ohms, not kilo ohms. Big difference. The light is brighter now. See, I make mistakes too. I forget stuff, especially when I'm not reading directions, as you guys would be. All right, click next. And again, I think it's a good idea to check out the code as if it were written, because we are going to get to that point so we can learn from the blocks. So here, right here, we've got our comment. This is one way of showing a comment. The computer will ignore this. It's only for humans. Is a /*. Write the comment. It could be many lines. This is a multi-line comment. And then */. So just the opposite as the start. This is the end of the comment. That is a multi-line comment scenario. Down here, // is a single line. Notice there's nothing ending it because the computer knows that this is only going to be for one line. And if I hit enter, it's going to be code after that. All right, the Arduino program always at least has these two parts to it, void setup and void loop. They are surrounded after void setup. You have a curly bracket and a closed curly bracket, and then the void loop has the same thing, open curly bracket, closed curly bracket. Everything in between those curly brackets is part of this setup. So this runs just once. This loop is going to run over and over and over and over again as long as the Arduino has power. So the first thing in the setup, or the only thing in the setup, is making 13's mode, the pin 13 in the mode of output. In other words, electricity is going out. So we tell Arduino, we tell the board that, hey, expect to send electricity out of 13. We could make it an input mode that would say expect electricity coming in to 13. Then we go down here to void loop, and you can see our comment that we wrote in the gray block right here. Turn the LED on for a second, and that's going to be by saying digital write. Write is something that goes out. So you're sending information out of 13, and in this case, you're going to send current at a high value. So it's digital, so digital means it either is on or off. So basically high means on and low means off. Then we're going to delay for 1,000 milliseconds, also known as 1 second, because there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. And then our next comment says, it added this comment for us. We didn't write this, but it did it for us. This one turned the LED off for a second. So here you can see digital write, 13, pin 13 to low. That means no electricity. And do that for a second. So again, we can watch our simulation and it turns on, turns off, turns on. 1 second. And you can play with this code. You can change it, you know, to 2 seconds. Start the simulation and see what it looks like. Stays off for a little bit longer now. You can stop it. Go to here, change this to milliseconds, and maybe make it 200, and make this 200, so a fifth basically of a second. And shut that so you can see it. You're going to see it blink a lot quicker. So you can change your code, your wait times, so that the light turns on and off a little bit quicker. And read through all these directions. It tells you a little bit more about the digital write than I did. It tells you a little bit about the curly brackets. I did the same thing. Read through this. And then you could actually do it yourself. Maybe if you're in class, one day we'll get this done in class. And then you're all done with this one. So now it says next time you did 7 out of 7. So you're all done with this. It says to try this one. And we are going to do this one. This is the multi-LED one. So let's hit done. Make sure you have 2 versions of this. So one was already done for you. You had to create the other one. Go back to project page. We're going to do the multi-LED. Click on this one. Same thing. It's going to open up with an example already there. So everything you need, you can either read the directions, you can kind of cheat and look at what they have. So zoom out. Oops, let's zoom over here. You can read through the directions. Because there is learning to be done by reading the directions and understanding. Okay, so we're going to make something like this, but using a breadboard instead of no breadboard. We could do it this way, but this way is better. More organized. All right, so let's pick out, it says pick out the components. So again, we need an Arduino. Bring that out. We need a breadboard. Bring that out. Kind of line it up the same. Then we need some LEDs and resistors. So we're going to bring an LED about here. I'm going to bring one here. Skips one hole, skips another hole, and this one's going to be green. So we can come up here and change it to green. This one's going to be yellow. Okay. Then we need resistors. If you read through it or you look at the resistors they already have, you can see that these resistors are 220 because, again, the LED has a milliamp current max of about 20 milliamps. So we know that 220 or 250 is what we calculated is going to be pretty close to that. And we have a tolerance of a plus probably 5 to 10%, depending if whether it's gold or silver. So we're going to bring these in here like this. You can see they're connected down to this bottom rail. That's going to come in handy later. Uh-oh, what did I do? I didn't fix to ohms. That's why my colors aren't matching up. Ohms. There we go. So now my colors here and my colors there should match. And then one more resistor for the green. Change this to 220 ohms. There we go. Now we need to run our wires. So we're going to run a wire to 13. And I'm going to make it red. And I'm going to change this to yellow to 12. Let's see, I think, so there it is, 4. And then 5 to 11. It's going to be green. Oh, you know what? I did this on the wrong one. It should go here. And I like to bend this around. Can I do that after the fact? Guess not. Huh. I'm going to delete that. I don't like that then. Delete all these. All right. So the first thing it does, if you look at the directions, it says create your 5-pin with a red wire to your positive power rail and the ground to negative. So we'll come down here. This is what we should have done first. Come around here to ground. Straighten all these up if you want. Make it black. Then come here to 5 volts. Make it red. Come around to the positive side. Okay, straighten these up. There we go. And if you want to really, always set up your board kind of the same, you could do this as well, so that each side of your board is always has power to it. But in this case, we're not going to be using this side, so really not necessary. But it showed it in an example, so I just thought I'd tell you why. Okay, now let's connect our wires from here straight down and then to 11, and then change it to green. Then down, change it to yellow to 12, and down, change it to red and to 13. There we go. There we go. Good enough. Now we got it all wired up. So we've got a circuit here. Electricity can go in a series circuit through the LED, through the resistor. It also has a circuit here, and then also a circuit coming back to the ground of the Arduino board. Okay. So honestly, we're not really using this bottom rail here at all. This positive wire, we're not using that because we're using positive power coming out of these pins. All right, so read through this, do what it says to do. It's basically what I just did, attach wires, add a few more LEDs, customize the wire color, all that good stuff. All right, now we're gonna go into code, and it tells you how to basically do the code right here. You have this already started, drag that in. So you can watch this and learn from that, as well as watching this video that I'm getting ready to do. So we're going to go into code. We already have this right here. It wants us to create a variable. It's going to be called, and again, this is right here in step 2, animation speed. So I'm going to type in animation, and they always like to make the second letter capital, or the first letter of the second word capital, but no spaces. Now we can set that to 400 or 500, whatever it says to do. Actually, it doesn't say what to do. You can pick your time that you want. And then we're going to, instead of the wait time going to be that, now we don't have to type it in here every time. It's already set. And when I change this to 500, that's also going to change to 500. So I wouldn't have to change this if I made it 400, 400, 400, 400, and then, oh my goodness, I want to make it 500. Or I want to make it 1 second. I don't have to go through all of them and do it. Now I can just duplicate and change this. Oh, I can't duplicate because I need the different pins. So this is going to be for 12. And then put that there, throw that away. And then for 12, set it to low. Put that there, throw that away. Now I can duplicate this to do for pin 11, which is our green LED. Okay, so again, that should be the code to turn on the built-in LED, which is 13, for 400 milliseconds. Should have made this change before I copied everything. I think that's in the directions if you read the directions more carefully. Yeah, right here in milliseconds. Okay. And then you could also toggle through their sample and see that it's pretty much the same. I do recommend looking at, not really recommend, require that you look at it this way so you can kind of start getting some used to what the code is going to look like, because you are going to type this eventually, especially if you come to class, if you're a hybrid learner. So again, we're initializing a variable called animation speed, and we're going to initialize it as 0. Then we're going to set up our pins 13, 12, and 11 to output mode. So they're sending electricity out of them. So the Arduino knows that. Then we're going to have our loop where we're setting our animation speed to 400. Then we're going to turn electricity on to 13, then turn it off from 13, and all the time the animation speed is being changed or added in here because of the set value that we put up here. And so we'd have to write 400, 400, 400, 400, 400. And if we change it to 500 or 1,000, we don't have to go back and change them. Okay, so that's nice. Let's take a look at it. So close our code, see what happens. Start simulation, comes on. See this pace that it has, about a half a second, half a second, half a second. If we go to the code and we change our animation speed to a full second, which would be 1,000 milliseconds, now we go back and take a look at it, start a simulation, full second, wait a second, then that comes on, wait a second, then that comes on, wait a second, then that comes on for a second, and continues through that as it loops through. Remember, this is the void loop section, so it just keeps going through around and around and around. And that's what you do. So follow the directions over here, follow directions in this video, read through this to understand the code a little bit better. It's going to help you in the future, and you are done. 6 out of 6, all done.